Hello everyone, welcome today. My name's Fleur Cushman, I'm the founder of the company and delighted to have everyone here today and really thrilled to have this truly wonderful professional ultra and trail running athlete Hilary Allen, aka known as the Hilly Goat. So Hilary is a CurraNZ ambassador and we're delighted to welcome you here to New Zealand, Hilary, for Tarawera for the 50k. Hilary is a world-class ultra and trail athlete, scientist and author of the book Out and Back, and truly one of the sport's most inspirational and determined, resilient athletes. Today we're going to be talking about Hilary's journey when in 2017 Hilary was leading the Sky running circuit and suffered a catastrophic near-fatal fall when she fell 140 foot off an exposed ridge in Norway. Hilary fractured her back, she broke 2 ribs, both wrists, and ruptured a ligament in her foot. Hilary was told that it would be unlikely that she would ever be able to run again. And so Hilary, how long did it take you to recover from that fall? And what gave you the strength to believe you'd return to the sport, let alone race at elite level?
I don't think I'm going to use the microphone, but yeah, so that was actually the first time I'd ever broken a bone in my life, and I just went really big. I think I don't really like being told what to do. I don't like limitations. I'm very stubborn. That's always been a part of me that my parents have always described me as a kid. But I think it was different. Like I felt like I had discovered this whole new world of trail running. It was something I literally hadn't, this happened 3 years into my professional career. I had not really known about it for much longer beforehand. I just kind of stumbled into it and I felt like it was something I was called to do. I loved to do it and I couldn't imagine my life without it. And I think once you experience something, it's like the veil has been lifted and I couldn't imagine my life without this thing. And so I thought that the biggest failure would be not trying. Of course, I didn't know what it was. I was naively, I had no idea what the recovery was like, recovering from simultaneous bone breaks and not being able to walk or put weight on my right foot because I had an operation there to repair this ligament. But I quickly I wanted to try. I wanted to see if I could, and it was just too depressing of a life to be like, okay, I have this thing happen, and that was it. That was the end. So I just decided from pretty early on that I was going to give it a shot, and if I failed, that's okay. But like I had to try.
And you wouldn't die wondering ever.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I guess, Hilary, that recovery became not just physical but deeply mental too. How did that experience change your perspective on identity and the reserves of strength that you need as an athlete?
Yeah. So, I mean, fast forward a little bit. So when I discovered running, I guess backwards first. When I discovered running, I was in a neuroscience PhD program, and currently now I'm in another master's program for applied sports psychology. So mindset, the brain, it's just the human condition is really fascinating to me. And when I was going through this recovery, of course I thought it was physical, right? I knew my bones were gonna heal. I knew the ligament was gonna heal. I have faith in science. But what I discovered in the process was that recovery is much more than just physical and like waiting out the clock. I had to deal with fear of overcoming this simple act of running that was like, now it became this fearful thing that I had to conquer. I wasn't sure I wanted to run again because I was scared of this motion that at once like caused me to feel the most free and alive and connected to myself and the world. And so this is the first time I actually understood what psychology and sports psychology, how impactful it was. And I think so I've written this book about this whole, my recovery process, but the whole point of it, I think, is more, it's not about the recovery itself. It's more about an invitation that hard things can actually teach us something, that it can make us stronger. And I think every one of us has that within us. It's just, how do we uncover it? And the recovery and accident for me taught me that. And it taught me more about just like the physical strength, which I thought was what made me an athlete, but it's more the mental strength that got me through these really hard moments. And that's how I was able to practice it, like on the daily basis, even when I didn't want to.
You were forced into it.
I was forced
There's no
to.
way out. You had to go through it.
Exactly, yeah. But sometimes, it's like a metaphor for life, right? It's like you can't predict what's gonna happen. In an ultra marathon, you can't predict what was gonna happen. But before the accident, I thought it was like, oh, I can just be strong and push through and just like muscle it out. But that's really not the case. It's like sometimes you have to just like relax and figure out a way to problem solve through it instead of just like bulldozing through it. So, yeah. A little bit more finesse.
Good answer. Good answer. And so, Hilary, we met you after Tarawera last year, and you have been using CurraNZ since then in anger, and you had a fantastic season in 2025. Congratulations. And really, you had some tremendous standout performances on a global stage against the best in the world. Looking back, what clicked for you last year, and how did CurraNZ fit into that picture?
Yeah, so I'm a scientist first and foremost. Like running is kind of like a happy, side effect or of like an expression of my drive and curiosity. And so what drew me to CurraNZ was, also side note, is that my father's a scientist also, food science, human nutrition, so like supplements. And really what stood out to CurraNZ is that it's very rare for any sort of supplement to have any sort of scientific research backed behind it whatsoever. And so that was amazing that when I was talking to you guys, it was just like study after study after study. And I was like, okay, because that encouraged me to try it, right? Because before I'd be just like, okay, this is just a gimmick. I don't know, whatever. Or antioxidants, yeah, the science behind that is great, but like what makes CurraNZ special? And so the science was like, okay, I'm gonna try it. And I think as athletes, your biggest superpower is like your recovery, sleep, nutrition, and just like your daily routines around recovery. Obviously the training part too, but this, I basically incorporated it into my daily routine. And as an athlete, I think you're kind of hyper aware of your body. And I train a lot and pretty hard. I like to do a lot of different adventures. And I was doing when I first noticed it, was doing some like back-to-back races where I had to not only perform at a high level, but then recover quickly, turn it around and do it the next day. And I just noticed that it was just kind of, and that's something I've been doing my whole athletic career, but it kind of felt like, okay, I felt like there was some sort of boost, like I had just extra energy, and I felt like I was recovering. I don't necessarily want to use like faster, but just more efficiently. So I definitely noticed it with that, and this was like a new addition into my routine this year. And I basically did one of the biggest pivots of my ultra running career this past year, where I was training exclusively for 100-mile races, and then I changed to wanting to do an uphill only race, which is like the shortest distance out there. It's like 5 kilometers and straight up a mountain. And I was able to run the Tarawera Miler in February, and then 3 months later qualify for Team USA at for the Trail World Champs for the uphill only race. So, and this was like a big part of that journey to get there. So, and then at Trail World Champs, I did the uphill only race, and there was a last minute injury on the team. And I've previously been on a world's team for the long trail, which is like 80 kilometers and above. And there was a last minute injury, and I was an alternate. So they called me up, literally I had 2 days notice, and I did the uphill only race, finished as second American, top 30 in the world. And then 2 days later, I ran an 80-kilometer trail race to represent Team USA, and we got second place as a team. So that was pretty cool. I definitely had the beast dosed on that one.
You did have the beast dose. And Hilary, what's your normal dosing strategy in and around your training, and then how do you change that before you're racing? Do you increase it, or how do you approach it?
So I do every day. I think there's different people like in the US, like I think David Roche is we're not calling him out on here, but sometimes people use it for a recovery. But the research shows it's like you dose it pre-workout. So I can use it as a recovery form, but every day I take 2 tablets. And then if I'm doing harder back-to-back days or more intense sessions, like for the VK Worlds Double, once I figured out that was the case, I took 2 in the morning, I took 3 in the morning, I took 2 afterwards. Then the next day I took 3, and then I did like the 3 before the race, and then 2 afterwards. So you can kind of up the dose. I think for hard training sessions, I'll take 3 the morning of, and then if I'm trying to do a hard thing the next day, I'll take 2 in the evening. But I think the really important thing is to observe some of the effects, especially from like the recovery of glycogen and fat oxidation. It's important to have it in your system for long periods of time. So that's why I take 2 every day. And there's so much. It's like people say, oh, like glasses of wine with antioxidants, but this is way better. And the not negative effects of alcohol. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, you've got that really dialed in, and I think it's interesting. Hillary was mentioning having it after a race as well, and that's important to have it when you're refeeding on carbs after a big session, because it will increase how much glycogen you can store back into muscle more quickly. So having it after an intense session is a really good protocol as well, Hillary. So mindset and sports psychology, Hillary, you've gone back to school, you've gone back to uni to study sports psychology. What sparked that decision for you?
Well, I think just my whole story. Like I said, the brain has always been this super fascinating puzzle to figure out. And then through my experience and my recovery, I'm also a coach, so I train athletes to prepare for these races. But always our conversations goes back to mindset, and it's always, like in my book, like trying to share with people how to develop resilience, and that's really why, to dive into the science of that, and then basically break it down so how I can teach other people. And it's a really big passion of mine. I think it's great to have a coach to prepare for these races physically, but if I've learned anything from the past, my accident was 8.5 years ago. You have to practice your mindset just like you do training. It's a mental skill. So that's what I'm really passionate about, kind of in the next phase and chapters, and like growing out my coaching business. So yeah,
Fantastic.
Helping more athletes.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And so through your studies, actually, Hillary, is there anything that you've picked up that has helped you with your training and racing? Have there been any gems that you thought, oh, I wish I knew that after my accident and my recovery and my rehab? Is there anything else, any nuggets that you can share that you've picked up through your studies?
Just that any skill that you have, you have to practice it. So, I thought mistakenly that this accident happened, I would be, impervious to any sort of setback ever again. I had it. It was in me. It was there. But that's not the case. I've had, 7 more surgeries in the past 8 years. Many injuries, many setbacks, and there were some times when I wanted to throw it all away and quit because I was just so burnt out, and I had forgotten that I was resilient, and I'd forgotten those mental skills. And so this is just something that's I've been working on more diligently the past 3 years, and that anything that you want to get perfect at or excel at, it takes practice, and it helps to have like a mentor along the way. So yeah.
So it sounds like a very trainable skill for
Yeah.
those of us who think that they might not hack the hardship in the pain cave that goes with ultra running. When the chips are down, you need to somehow draw on reserves and find them from somewhere. Mm-hmm. So the more you do, the more you practice, and the more trainable it is to get it down. Mm-hmm. It's great. Thank you, Hillary. And so, Hillary, this weekend you're racing the 50K here at Tarawera. What are you most excited about in taking on the New Zealand trails again?
I think who's from New Zealand? Is everyone from New Zealand? Everyone? Okay. It's where are you from? Okay, I just visited Australia for the first time. Grant from Oh yeah! Oh my gosh, so amazing. That's so funny. Oh, I love them. So Okay, so Australia is maybe more like Colorado. It's like dry, at least where I was. I've not been to Perth, but in Adelaide, it's like dry and desolate. And at home, it's really cold right now. But here, it's just lush and green. And there's I think it's important for me to travel so much because I forget what the color green looks like if I spend so much time in Colorado. It's like brown earth and beautiful mountains, but yeah, so it's the people here. Everyone is so welcoming. The trails, the culture, it's such a cool combination. And I really like to do different things. So I've done 100-mile races. I've done sky races, which are crazy technical trails. I really like to push the limits of what I can do. I just ran my first road marathon 3 weeks ago. So I like to try different things, and it's a bit scary because it's out of my wheelhouse. There's a lot of really fast women out there, and it's not necessarily something I'm very good at, but that is motivating to see how I can do. Yeah, so that's why I'm here, because literally it's a big change from last year doing the miler. So we'll see. Yeah.
So what's on your agenda this year, Hillary, in terms of target races, distances? Last year you were focusing more on the vertical racing. Mm-hmm. What's on the agenda this year?
So it's a mix of everything. I'm going to do OCC later this year, again in the vein of trying new things. I've done the TDS race. I've done UTMB a couple times. So I just want to try new things and challenge myself in new ways. Ultimately, I'd like to try to get on the world's team again for the VK in 2027. So just doing a mix of different iconic races, trying to do a couple hard VKs. If anyone's heard of Mount Marathon in Alaska in the United States. Yeah, so basically it's in 3K maybe? 3K, 1,000 meters gain, and then 3K, 1,000 meters descent.
Wow.
It's intense. So that, and then some local races in Colorado. I'm doing the Broken Arrow series in Palisades, Tahoe in California. And then the other A race this season is OCC. So, and then probably trying, again, I don't know if I could do it, but I think it's really important to try new things that scare you. My first road marathon was a 2:47:33.
Nice.
So I'm maybe trying to whittle my time down in the next 2.5 years to try to get an OTQ qualifier. So
yeah,
that sounds like a fun challenge. So
sounds like. Well, we've got a challenge for you then, Hillary. If you're going to start looking at marathons again, there is a Guinness World Record to run the fastest marathon dressed as a blackcurrant or a running beast. So you can take your pick.
Some people run some really fast times in those, like fastest marathon in a tuxedo.
Yeah. Yep.
It's really fast.
Yeah,
what about ultra marathon? I'm just kidding. I don't think I want to do that.
Yeah, it'll be brutal in the suit with the heat. We have an ambassador in London who's doing the London Marathon, looking to get a world record in a suit of armour.
Oh my gosh.
So, yes. So
and also, while I was in Australia, it was for a bike race. So I also have some bike races planned. Some fun challenge, like a run, bike. So I do a lot of gravel racing, that kind of stuff.
Fantastic.
I'm a big believer that your best athletic days are ahead of you. That was like one of my biggest mantras going into my recovery initially from the injury. And the reason I love it is because I think it's timeless. It kind of bucks the system of this idea in running where if you're no longer PRing, then you're no longer achieving. But it's literally just a matter of perspective. What can you be the best at today in a different sport or a different realm of running, a different distance in running? So that's what I'm trying to embody this year as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Hillary, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And now, would anyone have any questions for Hillary? She's available for general brain picking. So,
yeah.
What does your morning routine look like on race day?
On race day, it's pretty much like every other day, maybe just a couple hours earlier, depending on the race start time. I'm really a big fan of routines. So usually race day, it's like I said, my normal day. So I wake up, I have coffee, I make breakfast, and I usually start the day with reading and journaling. So I have a little journal, especially on race day. And this is kind of how I end my nights too, but like with a hot beverage and writing or reading. So yeah, and for race day, I think the journaling takes a little bit different of like putting myself in the right mindset, writing down my race plan in the form of like mantras and like maybe honing in on my self-talk and, you know, those kinds of things. So yeah, pumping myself up.
And on that, Hillary, do you do a lot of visualization of how you want the race to unfold, and you're putting yourself out there and kind of shaping it before you actually tackle it?
Yeah, I think visualization, it helps if you've seen the course. I've seen parts of this course, but even just visualizing yourself, like what it feels like to run strong, and visualizing those feelings or a quick stride, or you know, visualizing the feeling that it feels like when you're out on the trails, like on those really good days. And then also importantly, like the bad moments, like when you're feeling bad, feeling what that feels like in your body, and then what you'll tell yourself to either bring yourself out of it or help yourself get through it. So yeah, I do that a lot.
And interestingly, what do you tell yourself in those moments?
It depends on what it is, but some go-to mantras that I've had lately, because my latest injury was an ankle surgery and I had a lot of problems with confidence running downhill. And I would say, I'm a fast downhill runner. Like the I am statements are really good. So like when I'd feel timid or I'd feel scared or a little bit hesitant, or I did like a quick little ankle twist, I would just like start like repeating, I am a fast downhill runner, or like fast is smooth and wait, what is it? Smooth is fast and fast is me. And then, yeah, and repeating that. Yeah, sometimes getting louder if I feel like my mentality is shifting to being more negative, like yelling it out on the trails can be quite liberating.
Good. Fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're in a race and you're starting to hit the wall, it's getting really hard. What's your process about deciding, no, I need to push myself harder, or no, I'm going to do more damage to myself?
Ooh. So yeah, it's basically awareness of if it's coming from a place of like self-loathing or like pity, right? Of like, or external, like, are you mad because, I'm saying me, like proverbial you, am I mad because someone just passed me, or I'm not in the position that I thought I'd be? If that's more of an external driver, then that's probably not a good reason to quit. You know, it's maybe just more ego driven. But I always ask these questions about, like I check my effort. So sometimes if I'm feeling bad, it's like, oh, I check my effort. Okay, did I have a gel recently? And then, yes, I just did, but I'm still feeling low energy. Like, so checking in if it's like external or internal. And sometimes then it's like checking the point in the race. Like if I'm running pretty fast and it's kilometer 10 of a 50-kilometer race, I don't need to push harder. Like I could probably like stay here and then see if others blow up, or, you know, and if they don't, they don't. But like, you know, kind of checking in with your strategy. But and then, yeah, I think it's mostly that of like being really aware and familiar with pain. Like if it's like, you know, I've definitely DNF'd some races, and it's because I have to ask the question if it's like externally driven pain, like ego, like I'm upset that I'm not doing as well as I think I should be doing, or if it's actually causing, you know, like permanent damage. And I think we're all pretty aware of, you know, those feelings if it's like an injury related thing. Yeah. I don't know if that helps.
Good answer, Hillary. Anyone else have any questions for Hillary?
So what would be like your dream race to win, and why?
Dream race to win? There was this Hillary Trail race. That would be awesome. I just ran it, you know, over there. But I heard it doesn't exist anymore. You know, I actually don't know, because, you know, I think maybe the typical answer would be like UTMB or like something like this. And, you know, that would be fine and dandy, but it'd have to have like, you know, I think that's more externally driven than internally. And this past year, like I would have never dreamed to have made, like that wasn't even on my radar of something that I planned to target, of making the world's team at Broken Arrow and, you know, last year. No, I couldn't have planned that because I couldn't have imagined it. So I think the best results that you have are those that are a surprise, and just kind of keep taking life as it comes. Because like as much as you plan it, it really is, you know, unpredictable. And I think winning a certain race is so dependent on other people. I'd rather have, you know, my wins even be like a second place at a race that I knew I raced my heart out at. So probably not the answer you wanted, but
Go for it, Scotty.
So, I guess with goals in life, sometimes you set some goals, and then you've goals that you may think, like you get them 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Do you have like long-term goals that you'd like to see yourself like in 3 or 4 years?
yeah, I mean, so one of the ones that I might not achieve it is like making an OTQ qualifier in the marathon on the road. That might not happen, but it's going to be fun to try. Really painful and really hard, but it's going to be fun. And then ultimately mine is like a very long-term goal of just continuing to be able to move and be healthy and be an athlete for my entire life. I mean, and that surpasses like when I'm going to be finished doing like things professionally and competitively. Like that's always a big long-term goal of mine, and preserving myself physically, but more so mentally, so I have that drive and that passion, you know, well beyond the next 2 years, but, you know, in perpetuity. So, yeah.
I feel like I'm hearing that you're driven because you enjoy doing what you're doing rather than for the wins.
Yeah.
Did that sort of mindset also help you through wanting to get back to it after the injury?
Yeah, so I think this is a really big driver, and I can't say that I think at certain times in my career I have been externally driven, because it's very hard to manage that with being a professional, is because, you know, your paycheck is dependent on it, and your acceptance into a community of being a pro and having that responsibility and honor is you know, conducive to race wins and doing well. And so it could be easy to let my motivation be driven externally. But I think that's a very dangerous place to be, because then it quantifies I'm the one that has to do the training. All of us do. And if we're doing it for other reasons other than we want to do it, at a certain point, it becomes impossible to do. The motivation runs out. And so that was, yes, a hard lesson. I had fallen so deeply in love with trail running when I first discovered it. And even in those first 3 short years, it was starting to become like externally driven, and my whole world was around sport and who I was because I was an athlete, and who I was because I just podiumed at this last race. And then my world was turned upside down completely when I fell. And so I had to get back to running because I loved it, and I had to try because I had to rediscover my why, was basically it. And the why to return to running had nothing to do with sponsorship. I literally had to let that go because I had no idea if I was actually going to get back to elite level racing. But I wanted to do it just because I couldn't see myself without the physical act of running and moving in the mountains. And that's where I'm coming at now. And I think, race wins and being sponsored, it's an incredible honor, and it's great. It's a big responsibility, and I'm very competitive. I like to push myself, but that's just it. Like a race, at the end of the day, it's you versus you, and the podiums and the race wins are great, but honestly, it doesn't mean anything. And what I'm going to be, at least I hope, what I'm going to be remembered for is like the legacy of trail running, not from a race running resume like standpoint, but like people who read my book or attend these things. Like that's, I think, long lasting. And again, that's like the joy. And I think that's what keeps people in the sport, in general. And it's something that, like, you know, that sport just changes your life. And that's something you can't, you know, I think that's the most important thing in life is like your health and wellness and joy. Like if you're not happy doing it, then why do it? Yeah. Because we're going to be out there for a long time. I don't know what races you guys are running. There's going to be a point out there where it's not necessarily fun, but you enjoy like the process of doing it. And that is what you want to hang on to. It's like if I look at the end of the day, like, you know, and I have a trophy or whatever from a race, like I don't do it for that. Like I do it because I look at that trophy and I'm like, wow, like the whole process. I remember all the people that I met at the start line or the experiences during the race or during the training. Like that's why I think it's most important. Yeah. Long answer.
No one else. Favorite sponsor?
CurraNZ, of course.
So you coach people as well. You coach
I
others.
do, yeah.
Is there any particular advice you find yourself giving out quite a lot to runners? Like maybe common obstacles or barriers that people, you know, get the next goal that you're like, I give this advice to a lot of people. It comes up a lot.
Yeah, so in addition to like just the mental skills to practice, but it's mostly like training doesn't have to be perfect. Even in my training, like I don't execute it 100% all of the time. Like 80%, 70% is good enough. Like the consistency over time, that's where the magic happens. It's not one workout that I'm going to prescribe you and then that's going to have you get a PR. It's us problem solving when shit hits the fan, or like you have family obligations come up, or work is crazy and you can't get in exactly what I prescribed to you that day. It's like that mindset of like, okay, well, I'm going to show up with what I have today. I'm going to do what I can and then move on to the next day instead of just like the all or nothing mentality. Yep.
Very last question. So much, you know, great stuff to hear from you. So your sport's been really developing
Yeah.
over the years. What's, I guess in terms of looking back, what's been the exciting development in your sport?
Well, I mean, there's this rumor that trail running is going to be in the Olympics, but it's so cool to see just the progression of how fast the trail running is getting. It's growing. I think that's what's so awesome is that there's just more people running than ever. I think that's a result of COVID. So I love that. And if I can be a part of that in any way, then I would be thrilled to help people get into trail and ultra running. Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see where it goes. But
Yeah. Last question. Scott Bushman.
So, endurance miles is where the gap between men and women really closes. Compared to other sports. And so, how do you see the development of women's sport in trail running?
I mean, I think there's a big... Okay, I think there's room for growth. Like, I think you see a lot more women coming in. There's really cool races, at least in my home state in Colorado, where they're trying to get like 50-50 on the start line. High Lonesome is a 100-mile race in particular. I mean, and I host a podcast, Trail Society, where it's 3 of us, we're women scientists trying to promote like women research, like physiological research, which has been lacking in previous years. So the momentum is growing. So I think that's like one of the biggest areas you can see the growth, and like women's only races, like separate women's starts for like golden trail races. And it's really cool to see like the elites lead that and then have it follow suit in other races. But like, yeah, I mean, and I think even like 200-mile races are growing in popularity in the States at least. So seeing what, I think it's really cool to showcase what women are capable of. That in and of itself motivates other women to get into the sport. So I only see it growing, but I don't know.
Great. Thank you, Hilary. And if anyone would like to follow you on your socials, how do they do that? What is your handle on Instagram?
Well, I have a Hilly Goat. That's my nickname, Hilly Goat. So Hillary Allen, I have a website, and then my Instagram, I usually like link everything there. So.
And if they want to read your book, Hillary, where can they buy that?
Amazon is the easiest place. It can deliver anywhere.
And probably the Kindle version as well.
Yes, and I also, if you like audiobooks, I recorded the audiobook, so that's also a version. Yeah, thank you. I'm so glad.
Actually, I'm listening to it my third time now.
Oh man, so you know my voice.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and I'm actually working on another book. I started writing it now, so.
What's the deadline for that book?
I don't know. I just want it to be a good book. So working on it, but I mean, I'm going to write it throughout this year and see where it lands. But the topic is obviously it's more about. I mean, you've read the first book. It's more. I think it's more of like a summary of that. But basically, this book, it kind of goes into 3 years ago where I had forgotten that I was resilient. I started to be externally driven. I was really struggling with inner dialogue and really negative self-talk, and I had become somewhere along the way like just not my own best advocate. I'd stopped believing in myself. And starting there, after everything I'd been through, and then going through like the storytelling of how I rediscovered that love and having it be more of a tool for people of how they can practice these mental skills for if they're going through an injury or a hard moment in sport, but also in life. Positioning it kind of as that point of, this is something that I'm really passionate about. I really want to help people with mental performance in sport or jobs or, family. And so, because mindset is everything. And so the book is more centered on that. Yeah.
I had a really interesting experience about 6 months ago. I was doing a 50K, and a guy in front of me fell. We were going downhill. The guy in front of me fell, and I kind of had to jump across the side, kind of rolled my ankle, and it was all good, and I carried on, and he was okay. But over the next period of the next kind of half K, it was like my ankle was fine, my knee started getting sore, and I ended up pulling out at about 22K. Within 2 hours of pulling out, all the pain was gone, and it never re-arose again. And I was thinking, what if I fall? What if I do because he fell in front of me?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that was all in my head.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
But because I was thinking, what if I fall? This injury
Uh-huh.
came up and was gone the next day. Within hours. It was weird.
I've had that before, but so this is a really interesting concept of fear. So fear, when we think about it, really fear is something created in our minds. And it's psychological fear, like what we're actually scared of. And so something with that is like that awareness of like, is it actually really a threat? Like, are you in physical danger? Like, are you is there a cliff? Is there, someone running after you? Like, is it actually physical danger, or is it just a challenge, right? And sometimes when that happens, if your mind is kind of racing, because it was hard for you to know in the moment, but there can be like techniques that you do, like breathing techniques, to be like even asking yourself, okay, I say to myself, is this a challenge or is this a threat? And most of the time it's just a challenge, because I get in that too, where when I get overwhelmed, really it's my psychological fear building, that I'm afraid of what might happen. I'm reacting to what might happen. But if I slow down and I actually look at the situation, actually like ground myself in my body, I'm like, okay, does this really hurt? Am I okay? And react to that instead of that psychological fear. So, in the future, because that certainly happened to me before, and I've changed, dropped out of races, or, changed a route, or stopped training that day. What I realized, it was actually more of a psychological challenge. But what has helped me in other situations where that's been the case is I just take a pause, take some deep breaths, ask myself those questions, and then it helps me to kind of move through it. Yeah. But it's totally normal. Yeah. Yeah. Our brain is really, that's what I'm saying, our brain is really, really powerful. So, yeah. But to find ways to work with it, or sometimes it can trick us. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Well, I think we've had a wonderful session with you today, Hillary.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
and all the best for your 50K here at Tarawera. Brilliant. Thank you, Hillary.
Thank you.